In the dusty annals of time, two ancient texts emerge as enigmatic relics from bygone eras: the Eridu Genesis tablets and the Book of Genesis in the Hebrew Bible. Step into a realm of forgotten civilizations and divine lore as we unveil 10 astonishing parallels between these enigmatic tales. Uncover the mysteries that intertwine two distant cultures, revealing striking similarities hidden beneath the veil of time. Creation. Both narratives recount the awe-inspiring birth of the universe. In Eridu, the gods Marduk and Ea bring forth land from the primordial waters, while in Genesis, the Hebrew god molds the earth and separates the waters from the heavens. Enigmatic echoes resonate between their cosmogonies, hinting at a shared origin lost to antiquity. To elaborate, here are the parallels and similarities between the Eridu Genesis and the Genesis creation account. 1. Creation by a supreme deity. Both texts describe the existence of a supreme deity responsible for the creation of the world. In the Eridu Genesis, the god Enki is the central figure involved in creating humans and organizing the world. In Genesis, the Hebrew god, referred to as Elohim, is portrayed as the creator of all things. 2. Creation from primordial waters. Both texts depict the universe emerging from watery chaos. In the Eridu Genesis, the world is formed through the mingling of fresh water and salty water. In Genesis, the account begins with the Spirit of God moving over the face of the waters, and God separates the waters to create the heavens and the earth. 3. Separation of the waters. In both accounts, there is a division or separation of waters. In the Eridu Genesis, the mingled waters are divided to create canals, rivers, and marshes. In Genesis, God separates the waters above the expanse, heavens, from the waters below, seas and oceans. 4. Creation of humankind. The creation of humanity is a prominent theme in both texts. In the Eridu Genesis, the god Enki creates humans in the form of the first couple, Adapa and Titi, to serve the gods and perform tasks. In Genesis, God creates Adam and Eve as the first human beings and places them in the Garden of Eden. 5. Divine counsel and decision-making. Both accounts feature divine beings or a divine council involved in decision-making. In the Eridu Genesis, the gods discuss the creation of humans and their purpose. In the Hebrew Bible, in the Book of Genesis, doctrine teaches us that God consults within himself, saying, "Let us make man in our image." However, us is plural, as is Elohim, which is used to call their God, but argued against by Judaism and Christianity because their God is supposed to be monotheistic. A quote from the Sumerian creation epic: "I will create a primitive, man shall be his name. I will create a primitive worker. He will be charged with service to the gods, that they might have their ease." 2. The Garden of Eden. Within both texts lies a primordial setting characterized by a lush garden or paradise. Eridu's Abzu and Genesis Eden. In the Eridu Genesis, it is the city of Eridu itself that is described as a sacred and bountiful place. In these idyllic realms, man coexists with gods or God and enjoys abundant gifts. Similarly, in the biblical account, the Garden of Eden is portrayed as a perfect and abundant environment. To elaborate, 1. Divine plantations. Both texts mention divine plantations or gardens. In the Eridu Genesis, there are references to divine gardens where the gods themselves cultivate plants and trees. Likewise, in the biblical narrative, God is depicted as planting a garden in Eden and placing the first humans, Adam and Eve, within it. 2. Forbidden fruit and divine prohibition. Both the Eridu Genesis and the biblical account involve a divine prohibition against eating from a particular tree or plant. In the Eridu Genesis, the gods command Adapa, the human hero, not to eat the food of death. In the biblical narrative, God instructs Adam and Eve not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Disobeying this command in both accounts leads to dire consequences. 3. Serpent or deceptive creature. In both the Eridu Genesis and the biblical Genesis, there is a serpent or a deceptive creature associated with the forbidden fruit or plant. In the Eridu Genesis, the serpent is sent by the gods to trick Adapa into eating the food of death. In the biblical narrative, a serpent entices Eve to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. From the book by R.A. Boulay, Flying Serpents and Dragons, and was the thief of strange beings that helped in the establishment of civilization. The Babylonian and Sumerian records speak of these beings as the repulsive ones and also as abominations. 3. The Great Flood. A cataclysmic deluge envelops the earth in both accounts, signifying divine retribution. Utnapishtim, the Sumerian Noah, and Noah from Genesis are chosen to build arks to preserve life amidst the torrential waters. Their narratives converge with startling precision, illuminating shared beliefs in divine judgment and redemption. Both texts describe a catastrophic flood that covers the entire earth, destroying all living creatures except for a chosen few who are saved on a vessel. Food for thought. The Hopi records confirm a celestial and terrestrial cataclysm was witnessed by their forebears. The earth was rent in great chasms, and water covered everything except one narrow ridge of mud. And cross this, the serpent deity told all the people to travel. 2. Divine warning and instructions. In both accounts, a deity warns a righteous figure of the impending flood and instructs them to build a large boat or ark to save themselves, their family, and representative samples of animals. 3. Building the ark. In both stories, the main character receives specific instructions on how to construct the ark, including its dimensions and materials. The ark is built to precise specifications to ensure its seaworthiness and ability to withstand the floodwaters. 4. Animal pairs. Both narratives mention the gathering of animals in pairs to be brought onto the ark. The purpose is to ensure the preservation and continuation of various species after the flood subsides. 5. Duration of the flood. Both texts describe a prolonged period of rainfall and flooding, with the floodwaters covering the earth for an extended period. Afterward, there is a period of waiting until the waters recede and the land becomes habitable again. 6. Sacrifices and divine acceptance. In both accounts, sacrifices are offered by the survivors after leaving the ark as a sign of gratitude and worship. The gods respond favorably to these sacrifices and establish a covenant or promise to never send such a devastating flood again. 4. The gift of immortality. In the book of Genesis, the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden presents a scenario where God places the first human couple in a paradisiacal garden and instructs them not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. However, they succumb to temptation and eat from the forbidden tree, leading to their expulsion from the garden and the introduction of mortality and hardship onto the world. In this narrative, immortality is portrayed as a state that was lost due to the disobedience and is no longer accessible to humanity. 2. The Eridu Genesis tablet, on the other hand, is a Sumerian text that describes the creation of the world and the establishment of the city of Eridu. It mentions a series of gods and their divine deeds, including Enki, also known as Ea, who plays a significant role. According to the tablet, Enki is granted the Meh, which are divine decrees or powers that encompass various aspects of civilization. One of these Meh includes the Meh of eternal life. This gift of eternal life is given to Enki, the god of wisdom, by the chief god Enlil, after Enki uses his cunning to rescue humanity from a great flood. Utnapishtim and Noah are rewarded with eternal life for their unwavering devotion. Gods grant Utnapishtim and his wife immortality, while Noah's righteousness leads to God's covenant, promising prosperity and longevity to his descendants. And so, the secrets of the mystical parallels between Eridu and Genesis, two ancient texts shrouded in the midst of time, remain entwined in their enigmatic allure. These tales from distant civilizations unveil glimpses of shared cosmogonies, primordial gardens, cataclysmic floods, and the elusive gift of immortality. Are there more parallels that we can find? Until next time.